Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on my channel. I wanted you to get a good look of my skin without anything on it before we get started with this video. This video is going to be my current foundation routine and how I get coverage for my freckles and redness and hyperpigmentation. So as you can see, I have a very uneven skin tone. I have a lot of freckles and age spots and hormonal redness around my nose. So if you'd like to see how I do my current foundation routine, then let's jump right in. One of the most important steps for having just a flawless finish on your foundation is hydrating and moisturizing your skin. So you want to make sure that you're really taking care of your skin, washing your face, washing your makeup off, kind of customizing your skincare to your skin needs. But before you put makeup on, whether you have extremely dry skin, combination skin, or extremely oily skin, you need to moisturize your face to prep for your makeup to go on. So I am using the Clean and Clear Dual Action Moisturizer, which is oil-free. And one of the reasons that I love it is because it is so lightweight, and since I have combination skin, so my T-zone is very oily, I like to make sure that I use something that's oil-free. And something else that I like about this specific moisturizer is that since it is lightweight, it dries quickly. So give it a minute to kind of soak into your skin before going on to the next step, which is having a primer. This one is the POREfessional by Benefit, and it is designed to minimize the appearance of pores. I'm placing this in the areas where my pores tend to be more obvious, so sides of my nose, on my chin, in the center of my forehead, kind of my T-zone area. But you want to use a primer that suits your skin type. I also have some mattifying primers that I like to use for my T-zone because I do tend to get oily. If you have dry skin, you're going to want a hydrating primer. If you like a dewy finish, you're going to want an illuminating primer. There's a lot of options. The idea behind a primer is that it helps your foundation to adhere to your skin better so that your foundation is more long wearing. It also enables you to use less face powder. So if you have problems with texture on your face, you might try going in with more of a primer and less of a powder so that you kind of get more of a smooth and flawless finish to your base, which is something we all want, of course. There's also primers that are designed for color correcting. If you have a lot of uneven skin tone or a lot of redness, you can use a primer that helps to correct any discoloration before you even put your foundation on. So yeah, primers are kind of a brilliant thing in my opinion. And again, give that just a minute to soak in. For foundation application, you are going to want either a brush or a sponge. I personally do not like to use a brush because I find that it just leaves kind of a textured finish to my base, so I love using a sponge. It will leave you with a flawless finish without any streaking, and it soaks up excess product, so it helps to make sure that you don't end up with cake face. I always use my sponge damp, so I run it under the sink and then squeeze out the excess moisture. Since it does have moisture, it can tend to shear out your foundation, so if you're looking for a more full coverage finish, then you may want to try out a brush. So let's talk about foundation. Now, foundation can be very personal because everyone has unique skin needs and skin types and skin tones, but I will say that you don't have to find an expensive or high-end foundation to have a quality foundation. There are some very good drugstore options out there, and that will make it a little bit easier to kind of figure out by trial and error what works for you. I will say that it is very helpful to get on YouTube and to search reviews for certain types of foundations. So if you have dry skin, then I would search for like drugstore foundations for dry skin. If you have oily skin, then do a search for oily skin foundations. If you do have a higher budget and are willing to pay more for a nice foundation, then by all means do that. But I always say do your research first because it can start to get pricey when you have to learn through trial and error. The foundations that work for me are not necessarily going to work for you. So go to Ulta, go to Sephora, get samples of different foundations, have someone at Sephora color match you so you know kind of where to start. One of the ways that you can keep your foundation looking flawless is to make sure it's very well blended. So make sure that you work it into your hairline. I even go over the edges of my ears a little bit. Make sure you work it into all the nooks and crannies around your nose, and don't neglect to blend it down your neck as well. That will make it look seamless. After your foundation, you're going to want to go in with concealer if you find that your foundation hasn't given you enough coverage in certain areas. So typically, the places that you need more coverage are under your eyes, where you tend to kind of have purpley or blue tones. And then I like to brighten up the center of my face as well, so that's why I put concealer in the center of my forehead, down the bridge of my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chin. It just helps to bring those areas forward, and you want to brighten the center of your face, so that's why you want to use a concealer that is 1 to 2 shades lighter than your foundation. Doing this is going to create depth to your face. It's kind of part of contouring and highlighting if that's something that you're interested in. You want to do all the highlighting in the center of your face or the areas that you want to bring forward, and you can do that just by using a concealer that's 1 to 2 shades lighter than your regular foundation. If you find that you have areas on your cheeks or the other outer perimeters of your face that need concealing, such as acne or acne scarring, then you want to use a concealer that matches your foundation, because if you use a light concealer on those areas, it's just going to highlight them and make them more obvious. So keep your bright concealers to your under eye area and the center of your face, and then you can go in with bronzing powders or contour shades later to add more shape to your face. And again, there are drugstore concealers that are equally as good as high-end concealers, so don't think that you have to go out and purchase something super pricey. Once you are finished putting on concealer, you want to set it with powder. You do not have to set your entire face with powder unless you are very oily or you tend to have movement with your foundation throughout the day, like it tends to go patchy. But you do need to set the places that you put concealer down, especially under your eyes, because there tends to be more fine lines in that area, and your concealer most likely will crease if you do not set it. So you want to set it quickly before your concealer has time to settle into any of your fine lines. And I used a little more powder in this video than I normally would, just for illustration purposes, so you can kind of see it. But I typically would not use that much powder. I know that there's this big trend right now with baking your under eye area, and again, that works for some people, and for other people it does not work at all. For me, the more powder I use, the more like crepey and grandma-like my skin looks, so I'm not all about that look. And continuing to use that sponge for my powder application not only looks flawless, but it's also convenient as well, because I don't have to grab another brush. Now, I know that bronzer and highlighter and blush are not foundation related, but I find that these steps are just important to make your base look flawless. If you neglect to do any type of bronzer, your face can just tend to look really flat. We did do the highlighting with the concealer, but now I want to go in with some bronzer to add some depth and shadow back into my face. Once you kind of neutralize all the colors with your foundation, you kind of can tend to look a little dead. So we have to put some color back into our face and kind of add the highlights and the shadows where they would naturally occur anyway. So I like to bronze up beneath my cheekbone and on the sides of my temple and along my jawline. That just really creates depth and dimension to my face, and just kind of a natural shadow look that is there anyway. I'm just accentuating it and making it a little more obvious, but I don't want it to be too obvious, so make sure you blend it really well. And then I like to add highlighter to the tops of my cheekbones to really bring that area forward and to just add a little life and glam back into my skin, especially because I tend to use more matte foundations because of my skin type. So I do like to add a little sheen, a little shimmer back in, but I do not like to use highlighters with like chunks of glitter. I think that that just personally is not flattering on myself. It's not something I love, but I do like to add a little schmutz, a little glitz to my face, if you know what I'm saying. If you have particularly dry or dull looking skin, then adding this step of highlighter is really going to make a difference in just adding luminosity and life back into your face. A touch of blush on the apples of our cheeks is just, again, bringing color back in after we've neutralized all of the colors in our face. So I like to just kind of put it between my contour and my highlight, but more toward the center of my face. I don't like to bring my blush all the way back to where I brought my contour, because then my contour just kind of disappears. So just a touch of blush. And then lately I've been loving cleaning up my bronzer, contour, blush, all that jazz with just a translucent powder. And so I just kind of pack it on and create a sharp line there, and then quickly dust it all away. And it just really cleans up that line for me so it's not as messy. The final step to having a flawless makeup base is to set everything with a finishing spray. This one is very hydrating. It's going to help take away any powdery finish, and it's going to help my makeup to last all day. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope that you learned something today and can kind of take some tips and things to help you create your flawless foundation base. For a list of all the products that I used, please check out the description box below. And as always, I hope you have a fantastic day.